Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, I'm back again with another how-to, and this is the continuation of part one of how to build a bike from the ground up. As you can see, got my Haro here. I'm going to be building it back up, building it up from scratch, putting every bit of the parts back on it, and I'll walk you through all of that coming up. Okay, the first thing I'm going to go over is putting on the forks, so we'll start with that. Okay, in case you missed my first video, I said you want to make sure that this part, the race, is on there and that is seated well. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to grab your bottom bearing, face it upward, so it's like that. And then set that up inside. Then you want to take your top bearing, place it in there, and then seems like I'm missing a piece. Oh, there it is. Okay. Then you want to take your bearing wedge and put it in there. That'll kind of hold it together. Then your bearing cover. Any spacers you want to put in there. If you're running a gyro, go ahead and place that on now. Place the gyro top piece on. Make sure that the holes, see, I put it on wrong. Make sure that the holes, make sure that the dip is facing down so that it dips down. That way you'll know you have it on right. And as a matter of fact, I think I actually need to do it like this. Down like that. Spacer. And then you put your stem on. Which sometimes can be difficult to hold. Okay. Now, if you don't want to go all the way down, you can always grab a rubber mallet and hit it with a rubber mallet. Make sure everything's seated in there good. Don't hit it too hard because you don't want to mess up the bearings. Then you want to take your top cap, screw it all the way down. Okay, so now that you've got that on, you just take your ratchet, oh, I got it turned in the wrong way. Okay. Okay, this thing's being a pain in the butt because it's so loose, it just wants to go. So you got to do it with your fingers. First, get it as tight as you can. Make sure this is turning the right way. Which, no. Okay. I think I got it. There we go. And just get it snug. You don't want it too tight because it'll mess up the bearings if you get it too tight. You want to make sure that you can still, it's tight, but you can still spin the bars good. See, I can still spin the bars. give it a little wiggle, make sure that there's no looseness in it. And then don't get it too tight also, because you're gonna have to straighten it up. You're gonna actually do the last little bit of adjustment once you get your front wheel on. That way you can move your handlebars back and forth. So we'll come back to this, get everything lined up right here. We'll come back to this and we'll cinch down these bolts. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna wanna have to do is you're gonna wanna get to the bearings that are on the cranks. You wanna go ahead and put those on. So I'll show you here in just a second. Okay, so you wanna put your bearing in there, kind of snug it up, and take your rubber mallet, and then you kind of want to go around the edges and make sure that it seats in real good. All right, this might take several tries, and you might actually have to get a piece of wood or something in a regular hammer, but I'm gonna try it like this first. If this doesn't work, then I'll get a regular hammer with a piece of wood. All right, I got partially in. It's not gonna seat in anymore unless I get something hard to hit against. So let me get a hammer and a piece of wood. I'll be right back. Okay, so I couldn't find like some pieces of wood that I could use to hammer it with, but I found some pieces of wood to lay it down on so that I could take a hammer and just kind of beat it down gently without scratching up the frame. You want to just kind of go around in a circle, beat it down gently without scratching up the frame. I'll show you on the other side. Go. Okay, also don't forget to put the centerpiece in there. This lines up your axle, your spindle, and make sure everything stays in place once you put your cranks in. You set your bearings there. What I did was I set it on 2 pieces of wood so that when I hammer on it, it's not gonna mess up anything. It's gonna lay against the forks and the seat, but they're on wood, so it should be okay. All right, I'm gonna hold down on the frame itself and just lightly tap as I go around. I'll probably speed this up later just for time's sake. Sometimes it takes several tries. Okay, now you can take and you put your cranks on. Just make sure you line them up with that race that's in the middle. I'll grab them real quick. All right, you want to make sure your crank's there. You want to make sure that you put the spacers on right. And if yours has like writing or something on it, you can, that'll kind of let you know which way is facing out. So that goes on like that. You want to go ahead and slide it in there, and as long as it's going through fine, it should be lining up correct. You might want to take your finger on the other side, make sure that that's all lined up. It's a little tight. You can take your rubber mallet and give it a little bang. All right, you don't want to bang it too much. You don't want that spindle going through all the way on the other side. You just want to make sure it gets flush. Okay, once that seal is flush with the bearings, it should be good. Now all you have to do is put on the other side of the seals, and we'll get to that in just a second. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna wanna do, is take your seal, and again, the writing should be on the outside. This is a colony, so they make it easy. But you wanna put this on first. Then you want to put your spacers on. Now, this may take a little bit of trial and error. There are 3 spacers here. Well, 2, I'm sorry. 1 large, 1 small. These are there so that when your cranks go around, if the side of your crank comes close to hitting the side, then you can put more spacers on it, and that way, you know, you won't have your cranks hitting the side of your frame. But that's going to be kind of however it works out. So you might have to take the arm off several times just to get that straight. And you want to make sure that this is lined up, because if it's off, I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me see if I can give it a better view. Okay, it's hard to tell on the camera. Maybe you can tell, but yeah, that's a little better. But you can see that it's off a little bit, so I need to kind of move it back. So I need to take the crank arm off and line it up a little more straight. Best way to do that is to kind of look at them level, look at them from the side, make sure that they make a straight line from one to the other. That way you know that they're level and you're not cranking and you feel all awkward because something's wrong. Okay, once you're done with that, you can start putting the bolts on that put it together, which are just these outside bolts, and some of them have like little black spacers in them like this. Some of them don't, but those things are really nice because they set it in there really well. Okay, so now you just want to take your 6mm, start tightening everything up. And just tighten until it's snug. If you have a problem with your cranks coming loose, a good idea is to go to an automotive shop and get what's called Loctite. But make sure you get the blue kind, not the red kind. The blue kind is the kind that you can still take off. The red kind is the kind that's kind of permanent. So you want to take these, make sure that they're tight, but not so tight that your cranks don't spin. So, and kind of, it's a little bit of preference too. If you want them a little tight, like so that, sorry about that. If you want them a little tight so that the cranks don't like turn on you when you do no footers or something like that, and you can tighten them a little bit. But if you don't want them too tight, and you want them to spin freely, then just make sure that they're loose enough to spin freely. I like them to spin freely, so I'm going to loosen this up just a little bit. Okay, I want to make sure they make at least 1 revolution. These are a little tight. So, we'll loosen them up just a hair. Some cranks also have pinch bolts up here. If that's the case, then you can lock it down, but some of them don't, so just kind of play with it. See, you want them to at least make like 2 turns without stopping. All right. That's it for the cranks. Okay, sorry about that. I just realized I forgot to put on the gyro itself right here. So I had to take everything off, and I didn't want to bore you guys with taking everything back off and then putting it back on. So now that that's on, I can go ahead and tighten this up again and get back to straightening out the forks, putting on the front wheel and all that. So next thing I want to do, after I get this kind of hand tight, is go ahead and put the front wheel on. So let's do that. Okay, for putting on the front wheel, you're going to want a ratchet, a socket extension, and most BMX bikes run a 17mm socket. modern BMX bikes do. If you've got kind of old school ones, they may run a 15 millimeter, or if you've got just a Walmart bike. Unfortunately, I feel sorry for you if you do. But anyway, most of them run 17 millimeters just because to keep the same size. Even if it's a 3/8 on the front, usually it's still a 17 millimeter. You just put your ratchet, your socket together. Go ahead and line up your front wheel. If you've got pegs, sometimes they have these little stoppers on them. Make sure those are lined up so that your front wheel, and also make sure that your front wheel is facing the right direction, that your tread is facing the right direction. Alright. This might take a minute, so bear with me. Okay, so just want to make sure both sides are really snug. Make sure your tires lined up right. Should be good to go. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is put your back wheel on. First of all, you want to line up your sprocket side to your chain. Then you want to take your chain and you want to pull it in, put it over the bottom or the back cassette, and then slide your wheel in. Again, making sure that your pegs are lined up, if they've got those little knurls in them to keep them from moving. Then you want to take your chain and route it around your front sprocket. Now, as you can see, it's pretty loose on the chain, so go ahead and pull it back. And if your bike has chain tensioners, use them. So I'm taking the chain tensioners and kind of putting the same amount of tension on both sides. That way, you got a good tight chain. And it's especially good to have a good tight chain on a bike that has brakes this close to the chain. I don't like this setup, but that's the traditional way they used to do it, so they made it like that. Anyhow, once you got that everything tightened up, you can go ahead and tighten up the back wheel. Okay, so remember how I said earlier you want to kind of leave all this stuff loose? This is why, because you want to take it off the stand, and set everything down, kind of bounce it around, and set it in place, and then line up your handlebars. You pinch your front wheel with your knees and line up your handlebars. Make sure that your stem is completely straight on with your handlebars so that everything moves together. You don't have these crooked bars or anything like that. So, unless you're playing a game with Scotty Kramer. Anyway, just make sure that everything's lined up straight, and then you can go ahead and start tightening everything down. Alright, so you want to start with the top cap first. Get this tight. Like I said, you want to tighten it down. Not so tight though that you can't still spin the bars. You might want to snug it down a little bit, and then lift the front wheel. Make sure you can still spin the bars. As long as you can get a couple of rotations in, it should be good. And then you want to go ahead and then take your pinch bolts on the side. Hope you can see that. Take these pinch bolts on the side here and tighten those down with a 6 millimeter. Okay, so now if you don't run brakes, you basically have learned how to put together a bike from the ground up without brakes. But I'm going to go on ahead and show you guys how to put on brakes, and then that'll be the final step. Okay, so first thing you want to do is start with your gyro cable. Get it set up first inside the lever by just lining up the cable inside the grooves. You got these grooves here. You'll see when you get it on there. Just line up the cable inside the grooves. Go ahead and twist it down because you're going to want to have as much room to adjust after this, because with a gyro there's always a little bit of play, so you got to adjust from there. So I go ahead and just push everything down, or at least halfway. That way I can go move one way or the other. And if you look, there's one side is longer than the other. The short side goes closest to the cable, the long side goes to the outside. So if you just remember that, you'll know. And you'll kind of get it, you'll like, oh, okay, that's the way it goes. Because it pretty much won't work the other way. Go ahead and adjust those down. Get this other side, adjust it down. Go through here. Just a little trivia. Matter of fact, put in the comments below if you guys know who invented the gyro. I know you old school guys know, but I'd love to see somebody who's in their 20s tell me who invented the gyro. So anyway, for that matter, who invented the POTS mod. So anybody knows, put it in the comments below. Okay, moving on. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is install your bottom cable, and it's going to go, if you have these mounts, some bikes have them, some of them don't. It's really nice if they do, because it makes everything look clean and go together nice. So make sure it goes through the mounts. Make sure you curve right. And then again, get it through the grooves. Get the barrel adjusters screwed in. Okay, to save time, I didn't show you guys this, but I took off the chain and, or just set it aside actually. I loosened up the back wheel and set the chain aside because it's a lot easier to adjust from here. So, with bikes like this that have them down here, not many new bikes do, they have them up here, but the older bikes, if they're like this, you're gonna have to take off that chain to get to it. So it's just easier to just go ahead and do that myself and then start from there. So I'm just tightening up both sides right here. And then what I'm gonna do is take a 14 millimeter and adjust the springs from there. Okay, so I got this part. What you want to do is you want to push out like this with the spring. Push out like that with the spring so that, until you feel tension. And then, I like how this thing turns, right? Then tighten it up. And that way, see, it'll bounce back like that. You're gonna have to do some adjustments with the pads once you get it on there, but anyway, that's kind of how it goes. Then you do the same to the other side. Okay, once you got those brakes kind of where you want them, as far as the springiness goes. Then you want to go ahead and tighten up that back wheel again, make sure everything's lined up. Okay, so I wanted to save a little bit of time, so I went ahead and started setting up a little bit of the brakes. You just want to tighten up your brakes, tighten up the straddle cable first, and then grab your little straddle cable adapter, put that on like this. Okay, so I got everything lined up again, and sorry it took me a little while to get everything just straightened out. So you want to tighten this up. You want to tighten the brakes up, that thing last, because you want to pull it through there and then pull it and thread it through this part and then tighten that up, because it's really hard to get it through that if this is already tightened. So this needs to be the last bolt that you tighten. And then you want to take your brake pads, you want to adjust them to the rim. You take your 10mm and loosen it up, get them adjusted to the rim so that they're not rubbing up against the tire and not off the edge of the rim. And this may take a couple of adjustments, but once you get it right, you'll get the hang of it. And just do the other side. Okay, so I'm not going to bore you. If you want to take a look at how to adjust a gyro, I've got a tutorial on how to do that. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this myself, get everything rolling, get that front brake on, and then ride it. Okay, so here's the final product. Of course, I haven't put the front brake on yet, but I didn't want to bore you guys with that. But anyway, I love this bike. I love the color and everything. I think it just pops, and I just love putting it together and getting everything together with it. It's a fun bike. Okay, so I hope you guys liked this video today. I hope you got something out of it. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe, and if you're looking for more videos and how-tos, I'll leave some links down below that'll show you how to adjust a gyro and how to do other minor little repairs on your bike. So until next time, remember to subscribe, and peace.